happy Friday to you. It is Friday, April 24th, 2026. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and welcome to a new episode of Project Joy Live. It's your triple shot of good vibes every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at this 9 a.m. Eastern time hour. And I am coining today Feisty Friday. Anybody else want to lean into Feisty Friday with me? I'm coming in to you guys today with very little sleep after last night. And that brings me to, we'll just kick it off with a bang today with our breaking news. Here we go. All right, everybody, we are kicking things off here for Feisty Friday, and we've got breaking news out of Connecticut, and it's big ones today. Despite overwhelming public opposition, two major bills just moved forward at our state capitol here in Connecticut. A vaccine-related bill passed the Senate, and then the homeschool oversight bill passed the House. And here's what people are reacting to this morning. Thousands showed up. They testified, they waited for hours, and many feel they were not heard. What's raising concerns is that this isn't just about the bill. It's about what was said while passing it. We heard lawmakers say things like, "We worked really hard on this. It's a good start." And even admitting to voting yes while saying they weren't fully on board. And one of the biggest issues is claims that families would be grandfathered in with no clear language in the bill to support that. That's not a small detail, that's a major question mark. At the end of the day, this is about more than homeschooling. It's about this question. When the public shows up in massive numbers and the outcome doesn't reflect that, what does that say about our legislative process? And I want you to hear this directly. Here's a clip with Representative Ann Dauphinais speaking about what happened at the Capitol from her point of view.
The other thing that was mentioned, and I'm just kind of going through some of the things I heard earlier, she called lying about homeschool fraudulent. And I believe that the information that she was referring to was what the OCA shared with us in committee, which was later debunked by a UConn statistician. There's no data out there that shows anybody in this state is fraudulently or has lied about homeschooling. So I would really be interested to know what that data is, because I've had researchers look, and we can't find anything that shows there's a big problem in this state with a bunch of homeschoolers that are saying they're homeschooling but aren't homeschooling. The U.S. Department of Education researched and does not allow DCF the authority on education for the purpose of data collection. They don't allow that. So they're trying to switch and give the DCF authority over education, and it's not allowed. So I think that that's going to be very problematic going forward, because that's what this bill is instituting, is that we're going to do that. And I did want to mention, in this room we hear so many times, we want to hear from our constituents. We want to hear from the people from the state. We want to hear what they have to say, because that's their job, right, to represent the people in this state. Hundreds of homeschoolers came out to stand against this bill. Hundreds. And thousands submitted testimony against this bill. Did none of you hear them? This bill is about homeschoolers. It's an attack on homeschoolers. Did any of you hear any of them? It's really disappointing. I think 54 people, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, were okay with the bill that testified.
So where does this go from here? The homeschool bill now heads to the Senate, and it's important to remember that lawmakers can still amend, challenge, or even stop the bill altogether. And the public pressure does not end here. It simply shifts to the next stage, which means that this conversation is far from over. It is extremely important for you to contact your legislators. Do not let off the gas. It is very important for you to make your thoughts known because at the end of the day, those representatives and senators are supposed to be working for you. If yesterday showed us anything, it's that people are paying attention. They're showing up and they're not done asking questions. We're going to keep this conversation going as it evolves, and we are going to be right back after this.
Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's about creating connection. Join us each and every day for exclusive programming, special events, and a community to call home, where we invite you to explore, change the way you look at and live your life, and go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Project Joy Live. As I said, today is Feisty Friday, everybody, April 24th, 2026. You know, one of the things that really brought me joy in listening to the live streamed testimony of all of the representatives, the questions that were asked, the literal the verbal ping pong that was happening at the beginning between Representatives Zupkis and Leeper was absolutely amusing to watch. You know, when you're on the House floor, for anybody that doesn't know, you are not allowed to speak to each other directly. I assume maybe it's some kind of way to attempt to keep the peace, but it was interesting to is you have to speak through the Speaker of the House, whoever the speaker is on the floor. So they'll continually say things like, through you, Mr. Speaker, or through you, Madam Speaker. And then they pivot to the next person and through you, Madam Speaker. Like they're not allowed to speak to each other, which I find really interesting on several levels. Could probably do a whole show on that. But I was so thrilled. There were so many people that really went to bat for us yesterday. I was thrilled to see that. Obviously, you saw the clip from Representative Ann Dauphiné, and we also had amazing comments from Representative Belinsky. We had amazing that, like I said, that verbal ping pong between Leeper and Zupkis. Representative Zupkis always goes to bat for us, and again with Representative Howard and Representative Leno. There's a lot of people that spoke, and so that's one of the things where, again, when something isn't going in the way that you hope for it to go, you can look for those things. You can look for those things that bring you joy. It doesn't erase the challenges that you're going through, but it makes it dare I say, a tad bit more palatable in the moment when you're going through it. And so, obviously, it was a very long night for a lot of people. I think the final vote came down around midnight or so last night. And then there were several of us that just couldn't sleep. So I made clips, I wrote letters, I wrote out what I was going to share this morning for breaking news. And so I got work done. I finally got a couple of hours of sleep before I came on this morning, but I was trying to pull it together. And I love what Ollie is saying in the chat. It's also because they are in fear of losing control of a schooling system that doesn't work truly. And so it's a lot right now. And I've shared my very personal story about how I grew up here in southeastern Connecticut, and like we do when we're young, we make decisions and go about our way. And I knew for years that I wanted to come home. I wanted to come back. This area means a lot to me. My children are sixth generation Connecticut residents. Sixth generations. I have the records of when my family came here from Italy. And so it feels very personal to fight so hard to come back to a place that has become almost unrecognizable to me. And I had a lovely conversation with an old friend yesterday. We try to have these really beautiful, deep, layered conversations every couple of years, and catch up with each other. And it's a wonderful. I'm always blessed by our conversations. And we were talking about obviously what I've just described of you know coming to things are going to change, right? Things shift and change over time, but that um it can be very jarring when it's like they're completely changed, when you realize that things are unrecognizable to you. And it's about making choices to go, okay, what is it that I'm experiencing right now? How can I process through this? What is my role in all of this that I'm experiencing and feeling? And I got very clear yesterday about reasons why I come home, because my initial reaction is like, why did I come home to this? Why? And I've always been that sort of why why kind of person since I was very little. But it's it, you have to move from that place of why is this happening to me to why is this for me right now, and what can I do about it? Processing through it. What is the reason for me right now? And it moves you from this place of complete victimhood, which I heard some of that on the floor yesterday too, in some of that testimony. Well, we tried real hard, and you have no idea how hard our job is. Well, there's a lot of things in life that are hard, but then we get to go, how are we going to live this life in the best way we know how, with the kind of joy that we want to experience, and how are we going to show up? How do we get to show up each and every day? So I'm very thankful for the way that people went to bat for us yesterday, and I have no doubt that we will have those few people that will continue to bat for us as this bill moves to the Senate. So all of that being said, good morning, everybody. Happy Feisty Friday to you. I'm very grateful. I don't take for granted that I have this platform that I can, not just express myself, but also be a representative for people who don't necessarily have a platform, and I can help, express things that they want to say as well. And so I don't take that for granted, and I'm very, very grateful to get to do what I do. Our topic for the show today is another one that is perfect for Feisty Friday. Being your own boss isn't always easy. And it is very important for me, in light of what I just said, to make sure that this topic today is not even close to being framed as victimhood, because it is a choice and it is an honor and a privilege to be able to be our own boss. For those of us that are entrepreneurs, what an incredible life we get to have, we get to live. And I say all that obviously in the knowing that it's not always easy. And that's what the title of the show is today. But what I really want to focus in on this topic today, and as we of course are leaning into joy because that's the name of this show, but it can really be a double-edged sword of sorts to not having a timeline in your business. On Wednesday's episode of the show, we had my dear, wonderful, sunshiny friend, Olivia Ambani, live with us from Kenya. And we were talking about going with the flow. And one of the things that we sort of touched on at the end of that conversation was a little bit into the realm of boundaries and about kind of having to kick our own rear end from time to time. And so, this episode today, we're going to dive into what happens when freedom meets responsibility. So, let me know in the chat. If you are an entrepreneur, raise your hand, say me, I'm an entrepreneur. I have my own business of sorts. Some people don't like the word entrepreneur, which is fine. Do you have your own business? Raise your hand in the chat or let me know in the chat. And then how do you feel about not having a timeline, like somebody to provide you with a timeline in your business? How does that make you feel that you are 100% the conductor of the timeline in your business? Now, some people could come in and argue and say, well, we do have timelines because, you might have a client project or, something that has a deadline in your business. But ultimately, you made that product or service, so it still is orchestrated by you, even if there is a timeline there. You set the timelines, and we forget that sometimes. So there are kind of 5 parts that I want to talk about today. The first is freedom versus responsibility. Is having no timeline at all within your business actually freedom? Or is there hidden pressure there? I would love to hear from you on that. Ultimately, for me, I always growing up was sort of an outside of the box person anyway. I really liked to do things in my own time, even if it was to the detriment of my well being. And what I mean by that is, like, let's take, for example, when you go from like middle school to high school ages, you start getting class projects and things like that. And I would sort of be very all or nothing where those class projects were concerned. It would either be that I was so rigid and so afraid of that looming deadline that I would get it all done right away. But then what would happen is I would sit there and sort of spiral. Also, now you've finished it right away. You've got all this time between finishing and when it's due. And I would sit there and I would spiral about, have I done enough? Have I, not done enough? Maybe I said the wrong thing. Maybe I could tweak it or change it. I catch myself in that same sort of pattern as I'm building virtual spaces as well now, because if I'm building the virtual space for something and the deadline, that the whatever the event I'm hosting isn't for a little while, um there's a lot of picking at that virtual space between finished and the date that we're doing things. And then the other side of it is I would be so carefree, so like, I have time, it's fine, that I would put it off and then go, it's due tomorrow, and I would cram. And the truth is that in both instances, I never really put out poor work. I am a very particular about the work that I put out, but both of those circumstances created a lot of extra stress for myself, you know? And so recognizing that is such a key in our entrepreneurial journey, is like, what are the pressures that we are putting on ourselves? What is the amount of stress that we are giving, or are we making things harder than what they need to be? And now listen, I'm a believer that sometimes we need to go through things. So it is what it is. um but I want to go over to the comments really quickly. Sang was saying, can we be responsible and have freedom? I find that having non-negotiable tasks allow my freedom of schedule. The challenging part for me is when I want to level up, then it's mindset. And mindset is such a huge part of this conversation, right? And I think we can't I think for me, the first question you asked, as I've gotten older and as I've had so much time in my business, I've realized that responsibility is freedom for me. Prime example for this is we've been talking a lot in the Global Business Plaza and on the Ripley platform about the importance of having our terms, conditions, guidelines, all of our legal stuff laid out and taken care of. And I will tell you, I told this to our attorney, Tanya Fisher. I said, I fully expected, being the outside of the box person that I am, I fully expected to feel like trapped in, to feel not comfortable with having all of those rules in place, all of the legal things. But the truth is, when I put the finishing touches on those, I felt so free. I did not expect to feel that way. And so that's what I've come to learn for myself. Can we be responsible and have freedom? I take that one step further. Responsibility is freedom to me. And that has been what I've really focused on, and it creates a lot of joy when you think about it in that way too, because we all have those things. Even if we're not an entrepreneur, we all have things as adults that we don't necessarily want to do. But again, switching from the have to get to, and then putting your own spin on it, you know, getting to go, okay, I have to do this, but what do I want it to look like? How do I want to experience it? How can I do this and bring more joy? Which we'll get to that in a couple minutes. The next point that I want to talk about, because it ties into this responsibility piece, is the self-discipline reality. What does it really take to stay consistent when no one is watching? If you don't have a boss, nobody's looking over your shoulders. You really have to learn to have that self discipline. There's a lot of tools that I use to stay consistent when no one is watching. I use to do lists, I use calendars, I use reminders, I use alarms. I have accountability partners. I attend events like co-working, where we are holding each other accountable, because nobody wants that timer to go off and come back and be like, I didn't do anything. Nobody wants to be that person. Now, I'm not saying we don't have moments or days, am I right? But for the most part, I mean, it's such an incredible tool. There are so many tools that you can use. Now, I say that while also saying that there has to be the want to, because you can have all the tools in the world and still not use them. I've talked to actually a couple of people over the last couple of weeks that told me that they have a calendar, they use it and by their definition of using it, they put things on it. But then when it comes up, or the reminder comes up, they ignore it. They don't do the things. or they move it around and they do the whole, well, I'm the boss and I don't have to, or they just completely ignore that they even saw it. And in those situations, I think there's some really deep work that can/needs to be done. Um, and one of those things is the knowing that we don't do anything at all, unless we really want to. There's a lot of layers to that, meaning, your own uh, expectations you have for yourself, expectations other people's have for you. It's a deeper conversation than what I will admit that. However, we really don't do anything that we really don't want to do, even if it's subconsciously, even if we don't realize on the surface level, I don't really want to be doing this, or I want to be doing this. And so if we are consistently not doing something over and over and over again, then we have to look at, why is it that we are choosing to ignore those reminders, to pretend like we don't see it when those calendar things pop up on our phone or our computer? Why is it that we're doing that? And sometimes that takes that deeper reflection with yourself and examining, maybe this is something I need to, divvy out to somebody. Perhaps if I really don't want to do this, maybe there's another way I can do it that would allow me to show up. Maybe I need more reminders. Maybe it's not important. Maybe I need to, like I said, delegate, divvy it out, delegate to somebody else. But you have to sort of have that introspection time where we say, why is it that I'm not being consistent? Because if you keep just ignoring those things, you're going to continue on the path you've always been on. Some of the reasons that people might ignore things, it brings me to my third point here, is our relationship with time. Do we treat time differently when it feels unlimited? If we go, okay, this is my schedule and I can do what I want with it, I don't really have a deadline. Maybe I don't have a client today or a meeting. I just won't do some of those back end things in my business that I know I need to do. You know, as opposed to going, I have until the end of the day to get this done for whatever reason, and giving yourself that strict guidelines. I'm a big fan, and those of you over on Ripley who come to the Ripley Dive on Saturdays, we had been working for 3 weeks on variables, and one of the concepts of a variable is if then. It's offer on, yes or no, true or false, but it's if this happens, then this happens. That's a variable. And I'm a big fan of creating variables for yourself. Like if I do put off going to this meeting I'm supposed to go to 3 times in a row, then I need to go to the people I'm going to the meeting with and maybe, not commit to it anymore. Maybe I need to be real and honest with myself. If I don't go, I know some people that have those same kind of variables for clothes in their closet. I know this has nothing to do with being an entrepreneur, but it's what popped in my head, that they go, so I've seen some people have a hanger system. Have you guys ever seen this, where they'll put hangers certain ways in their closet, like the coming over the hook this way, and then when they wear it, they turn the hanger around and put it over this way, and they say to themselves, if after 1 month I don't turn that hanger around, if I'm not wearing those clothes, I'm going to go ahead and donate it. So if you are not doing certain things that you need to be doing in your business, creating a variable might help. So if I don't do these things for a certain period of time, if I'm continually ignoring the tasks that I need to do, then I need to delegate. Then I need to create new ways for me to commit. Then I need to get accountability partner. Then I need to hire a coach. Creating those variables for yourself, I think, is a really, really helpful thing to do. Structure versus flow. And this ties into our conversation we had Wednesday. How do we balance going with the flow and actually getting things done? I love, as I said, going to and hosting as well, co-working sessions where we can hold each other accountable and really get things accomplished that we need to do. I don't. One of my favorite things is actually coming up with a list of things that I know I need to be done. I don't necessarily like to go, I'm going to get this many number of things done, but I do come with my to-do list. So that's my structure, and my flow is I get to do it in whatever order I feel led to do it. Might have to do with a timeline. It might have to do with what I'm energetically feeling in the moment. There's some tasks where I just think it's so important to show up energetically available for that task. Anybody ever go into a task and you're kicking, you just don't want to do it. And because you don't want to do it and you're kicking and screaming, it is not your best work. So it's also about prioritizing in my mind, like, is it important for me to show up as my best self to my clients, to my customers? And if that's the case, then I have obviously my to-do list of things I have to do, but I need to do it when I'm energetically in that space to be 100% my best self in the moment. Whatever that looks like in the moment for me, because our best self changes, depending on the day or what our capacity is at any given moment. So how do we balance going with the flow and actually getting things done? I think it's always important to look at what are the structures we have in place, and how can we flow with those that works best with who we are, how we operate, what our personality is, and what are the things we do best. Lean into the fact that there are some things that you do amazing. Those things that make you an incredible human being. Lean into those things. My final point today is joy versus pressure. Is it possible to stay joyful while pushing yourself to follow through? There's a lot of people that will talk about only going with the flow or only waiting for things and not pushing. And there are people that say that pushing is masculine energy and not feminine energy. And I'm sure Teresa would be able to chime in on this, because they've been doing the Divine Feminine series over on the Spirit Sessions show every Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. But as a woman, obviously we all, woman, male, what have you, all have feminine and masculine energy within us. But I think about when I gave birth to my children, and in not even in one situation, not even in the ones where I had the most medication, not even in the one of my births that I had a cesarean birth, did I just get to lay there and do nothing. At some point, there was pushing involved in order to be able to get to the prize, which in that situation is your amazing, beautiful child that you have birthed into this world. You've got to push. Now, for any of you that have been through the birthing experience or witnessed it, you know that there is, almost reminds me, there are waves, right? Reminds me of waves coming in and out of the shore. And so we push and we relax and we breathe and we take that time for ourselves and we push again and we wait and we relax and we breathe. And even in that relaxing time, we know it's not always relaxing. We know there's incredible pain that could be happening. There's any number of things that are going through our minds. Our baby's going to come out okay. All of this stuff that comes up for us, but we roll with the waves. We push when it's necessary. We rest when it's necessary. And then the baby's born, and we get to, now we get to be a parent. Now we get to be a part of and really enjoy this incredible creation that we helped to make. So, is it possible to stay joyful while pushing yourself to follow through? I think so. Because there's magical harmony that we get to learn how to do. Now, notice how I said we don't just get to do it, we get to learn how to do it, because I think that it's not always easy. Not always easy to find. It was not easy for me to experience what I experienced last night in watching people say the things that they did on that House floor in the Connecticut legislature, lose sleep over it, and get up this morning and have to put on a show called Project Joy. So not always handed to us on a silver platter. The joy part of it. First thing that got me was when I came on and I heard our amazing theme song for this show. And I'm getting misty because it took me right there. Joy is now. Joy is here. Even when the storm is near. It's not a place that lives too far. It's not outside of us. Joy is who we are. So I can be frustrated with my business, and I can really be struggling with getting things done that I need to, and go, no, it's that reminding ourselves, I get to do this. How many people on the planet are stuck in jobs that they hate? They hate it. I had somebody say to me the other day, it's the same thing every single day. Well, what can you do to spice it up, Ben? How can you answer the phone differently? How can you show up even better so you can start to enjoy some of the monotonous things that sometimes we're in that in-between place? Maybe we are in a job that we don't love. Maybe we are. But that's going to be the stepping stone to doing something really amazing that we want to do. So you have a choice. Do you want this to be a bumpy journey to get there, or do you just have some fun? Bring some joy to the situation. But do those things, those action steps every single day that get you closer to the life that you want to live. Joy is who you are. And you have the choice. You get to. You get to. As long as we are breathing, we can choose joy. Each breath is an opportunity to choose and be part of this powerful play and contribute a verse. Absolutely. Thank you, Ollie. It's how we find joy in the things we love while focusing on the goal at hand that we created for ourselves. Where's my bell? I need to get my bell set back up, because that's it right there. It's another thing I was talking about with a friend yesterday, how it's not sitting here and going, this isn't hard, or this is all my fault. But there is incredible power that we can harness for ourselves when we do take responsibility for the role that we play in this life, and then what we get to do with it. Stop leaning into victimhood, especially if you're an entrepreneur, because while being your own boss isn't always easy, you did choose that life and you get to every single day make it exactly what you want for yourself. That's it. Period. End of story. All right, guys, we are going to be right back. And when we come back, we've got birthdays. Here we go.
I shall stand for love, even with a broken soul, even with a heavy heart. I shall stand for love, for the world is wounded, not just my little piece of land, where I am mostly safe, where I am mostly well, but our world, everywhere, every day. I shall stand for love, because we need more light, not more death, not more power, not more bombs. I shall stand for love, so that our children are safe, so that our friends are sheltered, so that our borders are open. I shall stand for love, even with a broken soul, even with a heavy heart.
We are always thankful for everyone who stands for love with us here on the Breakthrough Show Network. I will always stand for love, stand for joy, stand for peace, even when it's hard. Even when it's hard. All right, everybody, who is ready for birthdays? Let us know if you have any birthdays you are celebrating in the chat. Here we go.
Happy birthday to you.
All right, everybody. So, in the realm of celebrity today, Kelly Clarkson is 44 years old today. Happy birthday, Kelly Clarkson. Also, man, she's been around a minute. Barbara Streisand is 84 years old today, everybody. Cedric the Entertainer is 62 years old today. And incredible actress Shirley MacLaine is 92 today, everyone. Happy birthday to all those celebrities. And the celebrities in my life, old school friend Sarah Galal Gervais has a birthday today. An absolute incredible fighter in our homeschool organization here in the state of Connecticut. Coral has a birthday today. Happy birthday, Coral. And also Breakthrough alum, good friend, and you've seen him several times here on the network, Brian K. Wright has a birthday today. He's an incredible writer, publisher, ghostwriter, entrepreneur himself. So I hope you have an absolutely incredible day, Brian. We'll check over really quickly. Miss Sang says, today is my friend Dexter's birthday. He's in St. Lucia. Love that. So we will add Dexter to the list today as we get our birthday song on. Here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kelly, Barbara, Cedric, Shirley, Coral, Brian, Sarah, and Dexter. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to all those that are celebrating. We hope you have an absolutely incredible day, week, month, year, however long you want to celebrate. You go ahead and do it, boo. Okay. All right, everybody. So, what is happening here on the Breakthrough Show Network? Let's see. Tomorrow is Soul Saturday Morning Coffee. We are always having an amazing coffee time, and it's our last part of our series that we are doing in coffee. This we choose a topic every month, and this month we have been talking about the choices that shape us and becoming consistent with yourself. Isn't that lovely that it ties in with today's show? And so we're going to finish that up, and we're also going to be voting on May topics. So be there or be square. I do my um Morning Vibes radio show at 8 a.m. Eastern time over on Station Head or in our Soul Coffee Cafe. And then we have our 10th year celebration continuing of Soul Saturday Morning Coffee every Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. All you must do is go over to the breakthroughshownetwork.com or .club, and the information is on our calendar. In addition, coming up in less than 10 minutes or so. What is talking? I heard something talking. But we have co-working coming up, which is every Friday at 9:55 a.m. Eastern time. And then I also host another session Mondays at 12:55 p.m. Eastern time, that co-working that I talked about. Get your stuff done, get held accountable, and make some amazing connections as you are in there. We also are a part of Sister Sessions, where Dr. CK hosts several other sessions throughout the week as well. And we work together on making sure that you have incredible co-working sessions to go to Monday through Friday. You can't say it's not there for you guys, because it's there. All you got to do is lean into it, and they're completely complimentary to attend. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas. I will be back with you next week. I have a solo episode with you guys on Monday, and I think might be Wednesday too. And then Danielle Valero will be back for Flashback Friday next Friday. Won't be Feisty Friday. Well, at least we hope. It'll be Flashback Friday. And we're going to have a good time talking about some Saturday morning cartoons and cereal and that Saturday morning vibe as we were growing up. So listen, I want you all to have a fabulous weekend. Thank you all for being here today. And thank you again to all of the incredible representatives that had our back yesterday in the homeschooling community, on the legislative, in the Capitol building, on the House floor. We thank you so very much for your continued support and effort. And to the rest of you that voted yes, good luck in November. And I am your host, Jessica Dugas, and I want to remind you to make joy a priority in your life today and every day. And we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.